Sure, I'm James McLaughlin. I graduated in June of '56, and I applied to go into the Air Force on active duty as soon as possible, so I was in by August. And the first thing you do in the military is to go to a basic school of some kind. The basic that I went to was to go to pre-flight for flying school. I had worn glasses all the time I was in college, and it didn't occur to me that I could get into the pilot course. But when I had my eyes tested, they tested okay, so I went into the pilot course, much to my surprise. So anyway, I go to pilot school, and I go to San Antonio, Texas, to a base. This is in August of 1956, when it's at its hottest in San Antonio. I made a very poor choice there. The pilot pre-flight consisted of an induction into the military and some courses in a variety of uninteresting military subjects, like how to run a public ceremony, like with raising and lowering the flag and doing things like that. Not very interesting, but that's what they did anyway. One of the highlights of that was that I had impacted wisdom tooth while I was in pre-flight, and it began to act up on a day when we went to an obstacle course, which was like the courses that you see on television and in the movies. That is, you crawl through mud and water, and they blow up things around you, and they shoot bullets over your head and stuff like that. So I was quite uncomfortable by the time the obstacle course was finished, and it was 105 degrees out that day. And we went back to the barracks. They put us on trucks, and we went back to the barracks, and I went into the large bathroom, which had a line of sinks alongside, and I ran the sink full of water and put my head in to get some of the mud off my face and so forth, and turned around and leaned against the sink. The sink broke off the wall, and I went flat on my back with the water pouring from the jets onto me. And I thought, and I had an impacted wisdom tooth, which was painful. And I thought, no matter what happens to me in life, it's got to be better than this. And sure enough, it was. So I finished pre-flight. My assignment was to a base in Florida, in Central Florida, Bartow Air Base, which was a very good assignment because I went there during the winter, so we had the advantage of being in Florida in the winter. And there we flew, we began to fly a small airplane, low-wing monoplane called the T-34, made by Beechcraft, which was a very good airplane, very stable and very forgiving, except that to the new pilot, you get in the cockpit and you're immediately surrounded by instruments and controls. So it's a lot to absorb in a short period of time. But I got a very good instructor who had flown fighter planes in Italy in World War II and had been shot down and spent the rest of the war in a German prison camp. He was an excellent guy, a very good teacher, a very good person, and he had a sense of humor. The base was in Florida, was stuck in between lakes and swamps, and the swamps had, as you might expect, alligators in them. And I remember making a night takeoff. The instructor flew in the back seat, you flew in the front seat. I remember making a night takeoff and hearing his voice on the intercom say, "Do you know what's down there, Mac?" Just as I got the wheels up, climbing up to level out, I said, "No." I had no idea what he was getting at. He said, "There's gators down there, Mac." I thought, why are you telling me this right now when I'm trying to get the gear up and the flaps up and maintain airspeed and all that kind of stuff? He was a terrific guy. When you finished in what was called primary flying school, which was the T-34 phase, well, you halfway through the T-34 phase, you transitioned from the T-34 to a heavier airplane, more powerful engine, the T-28. T-28 was, again, an excellent airplane. It was a good preparation for flying jets because the throttle was very, very sensitive, as it is in jets. You had to control the throttle very carefully. The T-28 was used during the Vietnam War by the Laotian Air Force as a ground attack airplane. It was a very, very good airplane and a very good formation airplane when we began to fly in formation. So you fly the T-34 for 3 months, T-28 for 3 months. You're done with the 6 months phase. So I went to the next base, the base for jets, which was at Laredo, Texas, on the Texas border on the Rio Grande. And I got there in time for the summer again. That was very hot. I remember taxiing out at the plane that we flew then to the end of the runway behind some guys waiting for them to take off so I could take off, and looking at the free air temperature gauge in the cockpit with the canopy open for cool. The free air temperature gauge read 130. So it was very hot. Guys would come down from flying, even though there was essentially air conditioning in the airplane. Guys would come down with the backs of their flight suits black with sweat. Very, very uncomfortable place to be. Jets was a whole different thing. There were no civilian jets. There were no commercial jets. There were no jet airliners. If you saw a jet in the sky, you knew it was a military bomber. So it was still a new technology, and a lot of guys who had grown up flying prop planes, including veterans of World War II, didn't like jets and wouldn't fly them. In a prop plane, if you apply the throttle and the propeller goes faster and you go faster and so on and so forth, it doesn't happen that way in jets. You apply the throttle, there's a lag. So in circumstances where you want to be sure to preserve your airspeed, like landing, you have to be very, very careful not to come off the throttle too much and slow down too much, because when you want to go back in with the throttle, there's no response essentially for a little while. So you had to learn that, and also that you could flame the engine out if you burst the throttle suddenly in an attempt to capture airspeed real quick. So it was a whole different kind of thing, and while it's I imagine by now pretty much second nature to the instruction process, that you had to be sure you had an instructor who really knew how to convey this and show it to you in flight. Strangely enough, I didn't have any problems with I had expected, because the elimination rates were so high, a third of the people were eliminated in the first 6 months, and then I think finally another third were eliminated in the second 6 months. So I was expecting to not be able to finish the program, but I finished the program. And that was in the fall of 1957. And then you had the option of signing on to extend your mandatory service for several years and going to advanced fighters, or not doing that. And I didn't want to sign on because I was thinking about getting married, and I found that too limiting. You were essentially committing at age 23 to come out of the Air Force at age 30 if you signed on for the extra time. I thought that was too, I had ideas about doing other things. So I didn't sign on, and I was sent to still with my wings, still in flying status. I was sent to a course in supply logistics at an air base, an air station in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where I met my future wife, who was in the stewardess school for United.